Welcome one, welcome all, and welcome back to the Believe in Our State podcast. I'm your host Tyler Carter.
And I'm your host, Cody Van Cielo.
Cody, hopefully your finals went well, but while we had a bit of a hiatus from this excellent podcast, we have also had a lot of things go on, especially in the sporting world with Iowa State. As you know, the transfer portal right now is open, and like we talked about the last show, we talked about the attrition for the guys that we lost, but we did gain some people. We gained Chase Soul from Eastern Carolina, and that was a big recruiting one because we got him over Florida and Ole Miss, and then we got a 2021 guy, which Xavier Townsend, who we were also heavily recruiting, and I also want to apologize. That was an error in saying that he played with Arch Manning. His team played against Arch Manning, but he did play. He is from Florida, so
Hmm.
error on my part. Sorry about that. I'm gonna be better with that. But like those are two huge gets, especially with the two of our top receivers leaving uh, after this year.
Hmm. Yeah, and then also just seeing like the some of the additions that we've had outside of obviously the receiving core. We've also added uh, Northern Iowa Panther defensive end Cannon Butler out of the portal. Local kid, he's from Waterloo, so Matt Campbell in the Iowa State squad has definitely seen what he has done, and I think this is like gonna be like what we bring in due to Kennard Snyder entering
Yeah,
the transfer portal. So it's good to see. So hopefully we can like with Dominic Orange and with Tyler and Yendom, I'm hoping that Kane Butler can edge himself a solid role on that defensive line.
definitely. And I mean, we got to go back to like these receivers for a minute. Just I don't know if you really have been on Twitter, but man, Soul's dad is now like the biggest Iowa State fan ever. Like every single day, it's like something new, and I absolutely love how he's just like embraced himself into Cyclone Nation, and I definitely can't wait to host him at a tailgate for next year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, great to see that. Obviously, I think that tends to travel too with some of these players. The parents really love supporting Iowa State, so it's a great thing to see with him. And then also, I think I did see a tweet talk about how Tyrese Halliburton's parents when he was at Iowa State. They really supported him. They went to every game that he was at Iowa State for, even when he was not playing due to injury. I do remember seeing that tweet. So seeing the support, not just from like fans like us, but also like the family, like I think that's a big thing. That tends to be the thing with Iowa State and the athletes they have. Their families are really supportive. So I mean that's a sign of just the great culture that Iowa State has instilled under head coach Matt Campbell.
Yeah, no, yeah, I mean that definitely. I mean it like the fact that they also had other visits scheduled, and they literally didn't leave Iowa State without signing. Like that really tells you something. And the fact that Higgins and Noel took both of them to Cornbread, I still haven't even been to Cornbread yet. I'm like, I still need to find where this cornbread place is, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's what sealed the deal, and I mean, it shows that like money isn't everything. Like obviously, like you look at a place like Iowa State, and we're the only school right now, I think in Power Five that has 2,000 yard receivers. So
Hmm.
like, I
Yeah.
mean, when you look at the production right there, they look like, hey, you know what? Maybe I could be that guy next year and take this team over the top.
Yeah. You mentioned yes, you are correct that Iowa State was the only school in Power 4 to have two 1,000-yard receivers. Yep. And you mentioned cornbread. Yeah, so just a real quick plug here. We're not sponsored or anything, but to plug Cornbread Barbecue. It's a really nice place in downtown Ames. I went a couple times and they have had some really nice food there. It's really good. It's great barbecue. So if you're ever in the Ames area and you're looking for a good barbecue place, go to Cornbread Barbecue. That's in downtown Ames.
Sponsor us, please. Please. No, but anyways, yeah, man. So like just with that, that's just really a great boost to go into the you know, going into the bowl game next weekend against Miami. We're gonna be doing way more in depth coverage next week when we do our
Hmm.
bowl preview, our bowl game preview episode.
Yep.
But that's one thing I wanted to talk about real quick. Next, let's talk about this playoff real quick. I'm gonna
Oh yeah.
put my screen up and find the playoff bracket.
Yeah. Yeah, what's crazy is the first matchup is tomorrow, so time uh flies by fast, and the first matchup for those that want, in case you know already, it's going to be the in-state battle between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish over in South Bend.
Yeah, that's gonna be. I mean, I like. It's, I think 3 hours separate all the teams.
Yeah, it said it
Um,
was for that matchup, it was like about 200 miles separates Indiana from Notre Dame.
yeah, like in Indiana, I think we talked about a little bit. But Indiana, Notre Dame is in Northwest Indiana, so that's like sort of by Chicago. So that's up north, and Bloomington is about 45 minutes south of Indianapolis.
Hmm.
So it's in between Louisville and Indianapolis. But
Okay.
yeah, man, there's going to be a lot of crimson and cream there.
Yeah.
Just 1 second, I'm going to.
Yeah. Trying to see Indiana Notre Dame. I'm trying to see like how the scene is gonna like the split. I think we said what was gonna be like a 60-40 or something like that.
Yeah, well, I think we said a 60-40 split. Oh, wrong
Yeah.
page.
Yeah, so some difficulty if you're watching the stream. But yeah, I was watching a few of the things, and I think I watched one guy, CFB Bud, shout out to him. I was watching his bracket prediction, and he said like if there was going to be any upset in the first round of the college football playoff, it would be the Indiana Hoosiers over Notre Dame.
You know what?
Because
It's funny because the Solid Verbal, I'm a big Solid Verbal fan slash listener, and they said the exact same thing.
really,
Like, yeah, they're like, yeah. If there's any time that this could happen, yeah. But let me,
mhm,
yeah. So here we go. But this is the bracket for you.
yep,
But
yep.
yeah, I mean, really, the only games I could see are basically teams that are even matched, which is the 9, 8, and 10, 7, and basically those teams are evenly matched. And I can see Indiana over Notre Dame mainly just on the fact that because Notre Dame, like, has Notre Dame really even been tested at all this year? Like,
Uh,
I mean,
I think with them, they it's been sparse because they had that test in week one against A&M. Then you had like that one against Louisville. I believe that was week 5 or 6, and then at the end of the year against USC. So they haven't been consistently tested. They've just been sporadic throughout the year. So I'm not too sure if Notre Dame is truly ready to take on a team with a much like better offense than Florida State.
right. And I guess the same thing can be said for Indiana because Indiana, when they played somebody with a pulse, got destroyed. But I mean, I think the key for in this game is going to be definitely Notre Dame's defense. Notre Dame's defense is elite, and then we'll see how Notre Dame's offense does against Indiana's defense. Indiana's defense, even though they got lost by 23 to Ohio State, their defense played pretty well.
Hmm.
Um, Now, SMU and Penn State, I did hear that this game's going to be a whiteout and there's like a chance for snow.
Yeah.
So I don't think SMU has a chance in this game.
I mean, yeah, like we said, I think on the previous show, there is no way you can prepare for a Penn State Wilder. You can blast as much music as you can at the practice facility. You can crank it up as like the crowd noise as loud as you can, but there's no there's impossible. Like it's improbable, really, to prepare for an atmosphere that is a whiteout in Beaver Stadium. And I mean, everybody knows the videos. Like you've always, everybody sees the iconic Mo bomb or whatever, like causing a couple false starts, whatever. I think that's going to be the tone from the start of the game. I don't know. I think SMU, they can score the ball, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Penn State. I mean, Penn State in the Big Ten championship game against Oregon, their offense was clicking. They,
Hmm.
I mean, you had Drew Aller playing well. I mean, you had the running back duo of Allen and Singleton, and then Tyler Warren is like your Swiss Army knife. He can do just about anything on the field. So I think Penn State's offense is just gonna outrun SMU's offense, and I think Penn State should be able to take care of business at home.
I agree. I also think that Penn State's front seven is going to be a big problem for SMU, especially with Abdul Carter coming off the edge. That front seven is nasty.
Yeah,
So I expect them to get to SMU early and often.
yeah. I'm taking a
Um,
look at the weather. You
yeah.
mentioned the weather earlier. Yeah, it does say there will be snow in the AM. Uh, so it'll be like right before. I think it'll be right before the game starts. That's what I'm looking at right now. I would
Okay.
have to find an hourly breakdown, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at right now. Yeah, it'll be. Actually, no. Nope. Actually, that's the day before.
Oh,
It's
the day
tomorrow.
before.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Penn State plays Saturday. Excuse me.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so it will be snowing Friday. So I mean, for how cold it's gonna be, I don't think SMU is ready to handle anything like that. What's what's the farthest that SMU traveled up north?
Let me look at their schedule.
Yeah,
Um,
I could pull it up as well. Let's see here. No, not Pitt. Uh, I, I would have to guess it would be either
did they
at
play Boston
Virginia.
College this year?
No, they hosted Boston College.
Okay. Let me
The
look.
farthest north I'm looking at right now would be probably either at Stanford or at Virginia.
Yeah, Virginia would probably be the farthest that they've. Yeah, Virginia.
But Virginia weather is not like Pennsylvania weather.
Right, exactly. It's
So,
totally different. Being in the Commonwealth than from being all the way up to like Maryland or like
mhm,
Delaware, anything like that.
yeah. Right,
But
so, yes, we're talking up. I know maybe we aren't doing predictions, but I would just say like you were predicting this. You would say you would have Indiana and Penn State moving on for your first two games of the day.
actually, no, I'm gonna have Notre Dame, and I think it's gonna be. I'm chalking both these first two matchups. I think
Yeah.
or not Indiana, Notre Dame and Penn State will both advance.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I could see Indiana, so I'm gonna be bold. I'll just take that Indiana upset because I think that's the only one out of these four matches that I can see an upset happening.
Yeah, no, I mean, and Georgia is not. Georgia is definitely gettable
Mm-hmm.
in the next round. So it's not like Indiana won't stand a chance against Georgia. It just depends on if Georgia can play. What type of Georgia we're going to get? Like that's really the theme in the next game we're going to talk about, which is Tennessee Ohio State. Like which Ohio State are we going to get? Is it going to be the Michigan game Ohio State, or is it going to be the Ohio State that we saw in every other game this season?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Ohio State. I personally think that they won't come out flat like they did against Michigan. Because I think Ryan Day knows that if he gets a first round exit, he's more than likely going to be out the door. So he is going to try to be coaching his butt off in order to make sure that he doesn't lose to in the first round, even with it being at home. That would be pretty. That would sting so much. I don't think you would have be able to justify returning Ryan Day to Ohio State after a first round loss. And looking at Tennessee, we would have to see which. I think it's also the same story with Tennessee. Is Tennessee at times can be inconsistent. We just have to
Right.
see the play of Nico Iamaleava. So we just need to see which Nico are we going to get for Tennessee.
Yeah, which Nick are we gonna get? And like, this is gonna be. I think this is gonna be a low scoring game. Both of these defenses are very very
Hmm.
good. So it's gonna come down to, can Will Howard make the throws when he's able to have time, and will he be able to limit his mistakes?
Yep.
Because just in big games this year, he's been making very very bad mistakes.
Hmm.
and definitely the least interesting game I'll say is probably Clemson Texas.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I'm saying that is just because Texas defense is so nasty, and I don't know if Clemson can move the ball on them at all because I still remember back to that week 1 game when they were down in Atlanta playing Georgia,
Yep.
and they couldn't get anything going, and I have a feeling that's how it's gonna be in this game.
Yeah, I think if you watch the ACC championship game, the way that Clemson was moving the ball were those explosive plays, and Texas is one of the best defenses against said explosive plays. So it is a matchup nightmare, I'd say, for Clemson. So unless they can execute on those explosive plays, I think Texas will get up like 14, 17 early, and they'll never lose the lead.
I could totally see that and definitely like suffocating. Yeah, I could totally see something like that happening. Um, but yeah, that's those are our thoughts, and then we're probably as it goes on, we're probably going to give our thoughts on the semis once that happens. But that's not going to be till New Year's Eve. But you
Yeah.
know what? We're going to talk about our number 3 Iowa State Cyclones basketball
Mm-hmm.
team.
Yep.
Boy, man, what a game against Iowa, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the Cyclones pulled it out 89-80, man, and they like basically were trailing for about 75% of this game. So like
I
basically with
think
10
not
minutes
even.
left.
Yeah, it was like either trailing or tied for like 90% of the game. Because with Iowa, they were able to keep Iowa State for the most part at bay. Just when Iowa State was starting to crawl back in, maybe like make it like a 6 point game. Iowa hits another huge shot to keep Iowa State at bay, and Iowa most of this game, they were knocking down shots. Watch this game as a whole. The box score is a little deceiving with the shooting being identical, but that doesn't tell you the whole story. It was literally the two teams swapping roles from half to half because the first half, Iowa was just able to shoot a lot of threes. They were making their threes. Not, and this is a mix of Iowa just being hot. Something about playing Iowa State and Carver Hawkeye that the Hawkeyes just turned into prime Golden State in the Oracle Arena, mixed with Ray Allen. So
Mm-hmm.
they were just launching it from three. Everything was going down for them. And to Iowa State's credit, they were still trying to fight, but they just could never like close out or force miss shots from the Iowa offense in the first half. However, the second half, it was the exact same story, but it was the other way around. Iowa was not making their shots. Iowa State was getting what they wanted, and Iowa State was making their threes. I mean, Curtis Jones off the bench, he was 5 of 8 from three. Taman Lipsey had a point in time where he was 3 of 3. He was perfect from three. And a couple of other important threes. Keyshawn had a three. Nate Heisey with a pretty nice three. And Joshua Jefferson as well. So it's a tale of two halves. And then Joshua Jefferson getting another double double. And I mean, I think he's been a great piece for Iowa State. And these double doubles have been like it's great to see a power forward for that can produce at this level at this rate for the Cyclones.
Yeah, man. He's definitely been a revelation. He's definitely been a much better contributor than what I thought. And we got to also give uh, Deshaun Jackson some love too.
Mm-hmm.
A very quiet 12 points, 8 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did not expect this type of production from our bigs, man. But
Mm-hmm.
like, you look at us like starting conference play in about 11 days. Man,
Mm-hmm.
if we can get this, like we,
Mm-hmm.
whew,
I
this
mean,
guy,
yeah.
like man, look out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You mentioned we mentioned the two bigs here. There was a key difference in this game. Look at the offensive rebounding numbers. That's Iowa State taking advantage of the size advantage that they did have, because Owen Freeman or whoever else they put against Joshua and Deshaun, the presidents. We officially have called them presidents. Just a great revelation to see that nickname just stick.
Yeah, the
What?
presidents, man. Oh,
Yeah.
I love
um.
it.
Yeah. I don't even need to. You probably seen like some of the a couple of the edits that I did. It was hilarious.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome.
Yeah, but those two, like, it's nice to have a front court like that who can just take it like and just body people, which was something that was kind of missed with these previous Iowa State teams. But very nice to see. And then yeah, if we can get offensive boards like this, and if we get our bigs to consistently get us like some nice points in the paint, like maybe like 12 to 14 points in the paint from either of them, and then just have the shooting from Curtis, Keyshawn, Taman, Milan, Nate Heisey even. The sky is the limit for this Iowa State team, and this game really showed that they can win on the road.
Yeah, man. I mean, this team has been resilient. We saw it in Maui. We saw it in this game. And it brings me a lot more like confidence when you have to go into these very, very uh like tough atmospheres in the Big 12. You have to go to Fog Island, when you have to go down to Texas Tech, when you have to go down to Baylor, all those loud places, and like this team is this team has shown that it's battle tested,
Hmm.
and I mean, and obviously, um, the results from Ohio State Auburn further prove that Auburn is the best team. They went into Columbus and destroyed Ohio State. Like
Right?
it
Yeah.
wasn't even close.
Yeah, a couple corrections there. We host Baylor this year. That's the only time we play them. But you didn't even mention that we have to go down to Houston.
Oh yeah, Houston. Yeah, Houston, like a team that like just when we went down there, like we we struggled down there, and obviously we made it respectable. But like just going down there
Yeah.
with the team that we are now, I
Yeah.
think Houston will be in their form by the time we play them in February.
Hmm. Yeah, and then for the Auburn Ohio State game, that was actually a neutral site game. That was in Atlanta. That was the holiday hoops giving, like one of those like Thanksgiving weekend feast or whatever, like those tournaments or those special kind
Oh,
of games.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, just great things to see out of Iowa State, and I mean, obviously they took care of business against Omaha. Did look a little scary, like the first like 12 minutes where Omaha actually taking the lead. I think our team had like kind of gone a little sluggish because granted it was finals week, so I.
Right.
So understandable. Maybe their minds were on the fact that they had finals or whatever, but the offense eventually woke up and they ended the first half on a 20-2 run, and we never gave it up. We never gave up the lead after that.
Yeah, I mean, this like they got whatever TJ said in the huddle. They got the message.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, um, the men are in great shape going into conference play.
For sure.
Man, unfortunately, man, but the women they
Can't say
have
the same
been
thing.
yeah, you can't say the same thing about the women. They have been struggling, and that point guard position is rough.
Yeah. I somehow was able to watch the women's game against UConn, and UConn, like how you said how I said Iowa turned into the prime Golden State Warriors. Uh, crank that up to 10, crank that up to 100, and then square that. When you talk about UConn, they were at a point where they were almost perfect from three. They were like I saw at one point in the first quarter, they were like 10 of 11, and Sarah Strong obviously had herself a nice game. 29 points in 28 minutes. She went 5 of 9 from three. Um, Ashlyn Shade had a nice game. 7 of 10 from three. So, how do you beat that for 27 points? And then we obviously got to talk about Paige Beckers. Another great night from her. 27 points. Went 5 of 7 from three. 10 of 15 overall from the floor. So I mean, when you go up against a team that collectively shot close to 60% from three the entire game, it's kind of difficult to beat them. It's kind of difficult to beat them.
Yeah, when a team is making shots and like you do everything, and it's not like Iowa State was playing bad. It's just like UConn was making shots and they couldn't do anything, and they couldn't
Yeah,
overcome that storm. But
yeah,
I mean, if you think about the strategy about them trying to defend from three, it wasn't a bad strategy because the game I think a few games previous, UConn shot 3 of 19 from three.
yeah. It
And
was I believe was it the game against Notre Dame?
yes, it was a game that started name.
Let me see this. Yeah, because I remember they mentioned something about the difference. Yeah, yeah. yeah, UConn shot 19% from three. Yeah, 3 of 16. Yeah, yeah. It was the game against Notre Dame. So the right idea. Just unfortunately, UConn caught the hot hand that day.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, at that point, there's nothing you can do.
I
So I mean, how are you feeling about the women? Do you have like a more positive outlook and like a way like that with this tough non-con that this could possibly help them, or are you like sort of down, or how you feeling?
the stock is definitely a little down on the team hero names. Just seeing some of the things that I've seen, like with the criticisms, I think it's just our guards. Like I would have thought they would have been shooting more threes. 'Cause I feel like that should be in our DNA. But it was in the Iowa game where I felt like there were times where they were trying to force it too much into the paint, which was an easy turnover. And then there are times also where I feel like Audrey Chris, great player, but I feel like there are things that she still like leaves to be desired. Not necessarily moving to the ball. Defense still leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah,
Um, just I think it's things that should be able to get fixed, but I unless I see it out of this team, I really don't know if this team like I still think this is going to be a tournament team, but
sure, sure.
given the expectations that we had, given they were the number 8 team, like with the production that we have returning and some of the people we brought in from the transfer portal, it's been disappointing. It has been underachieving for this team. So, but I'm hoping that because of this difficult non-con that they've had, that they've learned some things. And I mean, I would still have him up as like a contender for the Big 12, but yeah, you're gonna have to deal with Kansas, West Virginia, Kansas State, TCU, Baylor. So still a lot of contenders in this Big 12 conference, and if Iowa State is not able to figure it out, then I think it's gonna be tough pickings for our ladies.
Definitely. I still think the jury's out on this team. I think that they haven't been playing up to their potential, yes, but I also think that they could definitely show something like in the conference play. I do think for me, I think for me we're gonna have to look at the first 6 games in conference and then see from there.
Hmm.
Engage. Although I know it's going to be a 20-game season, I think the first 6 games are really going to tell us what type of team this women's team is going to be.
Yeah. And you mentioned those first 6 games. Let's see. They do go to Oklahoma State, and right now Oklahoma State entering conference play is 10-1 on the year. They've also, I mean, they've basically steamrolled everybody. I mean, they had a weird loss to Richmond. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
not too familiar with like some of these women's teams that they faced, but they did beat Arkansas, which is, um, I mean, I don't, I'm not too familiar with it, but I mean, Arkansas is a solid win. It's a solid win. Because yeah, in Daytona, so it's a neutral site and there's a tournament setting, so solid win for them. Kansas, well, we host them, so it's not as concerning as us going to Allen Fieldhouse, which has been a house of horrors for uh the ladies recently. Kansas did also lose to Iowa, so they know what it's like to face Iowa. They do have a couple of solid wins. They did beat Northern Iowa, who we unfortunately lost to. They did beat Pitt. They've beaten Auburn. They beat Penn State, and they do play Baylor. So we'll get a look to see how they are. Follow that up with the game against Utah. I think Utah is still like, yeah, they're solid. They're a solid women's team. I remember they did beat Notre Dame. They did beat Notre Dame
Hmm.
earlier in the year, so that's a marquee win. So this Utah team can beat good teams. So watch out for that. Then they have to trip to Arizona, taking on the Arizona schools, which is never an easy trip for anybody. And then they do host Texas Tech.
Yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a rough first 6 conference games for the ladies.
Oof, and that's not even getting to the meat and potatoes of it, because right after that they have to go to Morgantown,
Oh,
and then
oh, jeez.
yep, and then they do get at Kansas State, so that won't be fun.
Oh boy. Yeah. Hopefully, the women can get back on track, like
Yeah.
and fast.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, really, Not much to look out for. I mean, I don't know if we mentioned this last on the last show, but we did see the contract extensions of both football head coach Matt Campbell and men's basketball head coach TJ Altoberger.
Yeah. We'll give each other our thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts on that.
I think this is a great move. I mean, lock securing your guys. I was listening to the Williams and Bloom podcast. They were talking about locking up Matt Campbell and TJ Altoberger, knowing the media contracts negotiations coming up in 2031 and 2032. So it's a great thing to have in your back pocket. Because I mean, you've built pretty good cultures here. You built winning culture here, and I think it's a great move from the athletic director Jamie Pollard. And I think if this is one of the things that Pollard leaves is like a lasting legacy because he's been at the helm for 15 years. I don't know if he'll be the AD in 10 years, but if he is great. But if not, whoever is the next AD has a great foundation to build upon. So I think this is a great move for Iowa State to lock in your guys for the long term. And yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Iowa State Iowa State athletics is in their golden era right now. Like this is
Hmm.
our golden era in like football. Right now by far.
Yep.
This is the most sustained success that we've ever had in
Hmm.
football. We are at even even weight, even or at a puncher's chance with everybody in the conference. I mean,
Hmm.
Campbell is 5-2 against K State. Like it's the most
Hmm.
success that we've had against K
Yeah.
State in a while.
Hmm.
I mean, it like, and then just basketball wise, the fact that every single year that TJ has been here, I think this is his fourth season. We've made it to the tournament and we've made it farther each year.
Yeah.
I mean, the first year we made it to the Sweet 16, and then the second year we lost the first round. Then we went made it again, and then we made it to the Sweet 16 again. So
Yeah.
like
We.
it's amazing, dude.
Hmm. And I think now, I think we have a much more well-rounded basketball team because we now have offense. Because if you watch the first 2 years of TJ Altenberger, it was just you didn't see much scoring out of our guys because it was defense. It was it was that defense that was getting us wins. But now you have a team that can still play that still plays great defense. Don't get me wrong. But now we have an offense that can supplement that. And I mean, we've consistently scored at least 80 points in our games. I think so far we've scored at least 81 in all of our games.
No, I do think that this was TJ's vision all along, to have a very well balanced team, and at least a team that's probably. And I mean, obviously, it's great. It's great that we're like top 10 and compound on offense and defense.
Hmm.
Now, like I think and have him have these teams being like his South Dakota State teams that can defend and can score.
Hmm.
But just we're just elite at both of them. So like just if we can really just to continue uh having this going and just hopefully we don't have any other crazy
Yeah.
collapses on the
Yeah.
road
Yeah.
like we sometimes do in conference play
Hmm.
and just like it'll try to like just lower the slow starts that we can usually have with typical Iowa State teams, but I
For
just
sure.
have a feeling that just like we said in football, I think that this team is different and this team is ready to take that next step.
Yeah, I mean, taking a look at the conference standings, this Big 12 just feels wide open for Iowa State to take. I mean, you've had Cincinnati. I don't like they're 8-1, but I feel like as conference play comes around, I don't think Cincinnati will be like as good as like some people like thought the preseason, like that the preseason poll had them. So
Mm.
I think Cincinnati is going to take a tumble. Kansas, they do need to figure it out. They I don't know what I mean, dropping those back-to-back games against Creighton and Mizzou, not a great look. They did rebound with a win against NC State, but yeah, something about I don't know, something about this Kansas team. I don't know if it's coaching, if it's rotations, but this Kansas team does not feel like your typical Kansas team that you
They
know that
haven't
they can
really
be.
felt like typical Kansas like the last few years, honestly. But and really, it's probably because the NIL playing field has been leveled because they were paying players before then, and now everybody else is paying
Oh
players.
no. That's a nice dig. I completely forgot about that. What was it? 2018? Because I feel like
Yeah,
fans are still holding on to that 2018. Like we made it, yada 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 in 2018. Well, yeah, you did NIL before NIL was legally a thing,
and they
but
were doing it for years before.
oh, no surprising. Houston. Oh man. Houston. I trust Houston to rebound. I mean, losing against Auburn is not a bad loss. Neither is losing against Alabama. The San Diego State loss is the one that caught me by surprise.
I thought San Diego State was good, unless they're struggling this year.
They're currently not. Let me see. They're currently seven. Okay, they're first in the Mountain West, so that win has aged better. But I guess for a Houston team, like I'm surprised that I would have thought Houston would have like won that game, but it would have been a close game.
Yeah, I think with them, I think when you had a very elite like player like Jamal Shed, and you lose that to all that experience when he goes to the NBA, I think it's going to be an adjustment for them. But I
Yeah.
do think that they'll be probably into form. Um,
Hmm.
and I think we are going to have a disagreement about Cincinnati. I actually think that Cincinnati is going to be really good this year. I
Okay.
think they might have found something.
Hmm.
Um, so that Cincinnati game is, I think, is gonna, when they come to Hilton. Yeah, I think we
Yeah.
go. Do we go? Is that do we play at Cincinnati too, or is it
I don't believe that's a home and home for us. So
okay? Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
what I
don't.
thought.
Yeah, because I think with Iowa State, we host Cincinnati, but we don't go to Cincinnati.
Oh, okay,
So
yeah, but like
okay.
just to finish my point, like I was, it's gonna that's gonna be a tough game. Like they're gonna come in there like we had to scratch and claw for when we went to Cincinnati last season. I remember
Hmm.
watching that game and
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is this is hard.
Hmm.
So
So
I think Cincinnati is gonna be in the mix this year.
yeah, I think they could prove me wrong. You want to know one team like okay, so we could talk about some disappointments. We could talk about Arizona being a disappointment thus far.
Yeah, what is going on with them?
I don't know. I mean they got BT B2A by Wisconsin. Duke put B2A on them at their place. They lost to Oklahoma and West Virginia, which is wild. But
Yeah,
West Virginia is looking pretty good. The Ball, what's going on over there? That's looking good. But yeah, dropping the game to UCLA. UCLA is looking like a pretty solid team. So whatever. But yeah, being 5-5, not a great look for one of these supposed powerhouses of your conference. Not a great look.
it's not at all. I mean, I did not expect this from Arizona. Um, I
Hmm.
think just I think we're really gonna know probably by like game. I'll probably say by game like 7 or 8, we'll
Yeah.
know what these teams are gonna be
Hmm.
and what type of Arizona we're gonna have when they come into Hilton.
Yeah.
Um,
You want to know? So you know, yeah. So Arizona being the Wildcats, I want to talk about another pack of Wildcats.
yeah, we need to talk about this. The downfall of Kansas State basketball, man. It
Oh, I'm
is
ready for it. I'm
it
ready to
is
go.
I am reveling in this. Like,
Oh,
man, all the times they were talking trash about us last year, even though they didn't make the tournament. Oh, you guys lost in the Sweet 16. You still haven't been to the Elite Eight.
I
Yeah, but
think yeah, I think
ugh,
Kansas State. I think they're holding on to that Elite Eight appearance too much. They're hanging on to it for too long because you see what happened. Like following that Elite Eight, you went to the NIT and Kansas State. You just lost to Ben McCullum and a bunch of D2 transfers in the Drake Bulldogs. What a win for the Drake Bulldogs. They're 10-0, so I'm cheering for Drake all the way. I think Drake is going to be a tournament team. I think they might be that Cinderella team, a la Loyola Chicago.
they're gonna be the guy. Yeah, they're gonna be the team in the Valley to beat. Um,
Yeah, but
yeah, man.
those post
I
game
don't know.
comments, yeah,
Yeah,
those post game comments, like, what is going on? Like, seriously, like Coleman Hawkins, like this is gonna be from his things where it talks about like it's an us versus everybody thing, and I think this is gonna explore more of like the NIL world, which I for us, I don't think we're as like too expertise in it. But if you want someone who is well versed in NIL world, Brett Bloom, great guy to pay attention to, read his stuff of like NIL because he is the main like guy when it comes to We Will
He's the
collecting.
bag
So
man.
he is the bag man. So yeah, he would know a lot more about NAL than we would at the moment. But I mean, Coleman Hawkins, yeah. I mean, he did mention that somebody was in like his DMs talking about like I hope you break your leg, which is something you never want to hear like as a player. You don't ever want that. Like fans should not be doing that. But there does come a point where like Coleman Hawkins, you were brought in for was it $1.5 million, and you aren't producing what like it was expected. Fans do have a level of rights to criticize your
Right.
play. They have a certain level of rights, and they can make fair criticisms because you're paid that much money and you aren't producing. It's kind of disappointing. And you look at the difference between them and us with the way that NIL was handled by Iowa State. You saw the players that we picked up versus the player that Kansas State picked up. It's a matter of culture and just I think it comes down to who's making these decisions. Some like whoever's making the decision at K State, clearly they missed on this one.
Well, and then if you listen to like the post game comments, it seemed like he was escaping responsibility or any type of like ownership from this. I'm like, dude, look, you're the head coach. Like you're the one that's supposed to be
Oh
building
yeah.
this roster. Like you gotta take some responsibility and own up to it. Like,
Hmm.
man, I
I
don't understand. Like you can't just blame it on everybody else and have that victim mentality. Like you have to as the head coach of Kansas State, you got to be like, hey, look, this is all on me. We're gonna get this figured out and right the ship. But he's
hmm
not saying that, and like
Yeah.
K State fans have been crashing out. I mean, it's been the funniest thing ever. But
Yeah.
like,
Oh god. February 1st. oh, oh dude, I cannot wait to play Kansas State come February 1st. I
man,
cannot wait for that. Mm. That's oh, I have that marked on my calendar, and that's a
that's just
Saturday,
wait. Isn't
so
that a CBS game too?
no. It's when we visit Kansas State that it's
Oh,
CBS.
okay, okay,
It's
okay.
ESPN for when we host. I believe it's ESPN for when we do host Kansas State because that's gonna be a whiteout. So
Oh, we're gonna. Oh man, that's
buckle up.
gonna get
Yeah, and it's a
ugly.
1 p.m. tip off local time. Yeah, local time. So it's great for us to watch it because obviously I'm gonna be at the game, but it's great for you because it's on Saturday. It's a 1 p.m. So get some lunch and sit down and watch a great day of college basketball. So I'm glad like now we're in the full swing of college basketball. The playoffs are nice to watch for football, but I mean I'm more of a college basketball guy, especially at the school I attend, especially being at Iowa State, it being more of a basketball school. But
I'm definitely yeah, and then for me, usually this would be when I'd be more locked into the NFL, but since my NFL team sucks, now I am locked into basketball earlier than when I thought I would.
hmm
But I mean,
hey,
one last thing before we leave, Cody, I wanted to get your thoughts on the two coaching hires we had in the Big 12. They were both former guys. UCF rehired Scott Frost,
hmm
and man, Rich Rod is back,
oh,
baby. What I got to get your thoughts, and then I'll give my thoughts, and then we'll end the
oh,
show.
the
But
Scott
man,
Frost hire I feel like it's a retread. I don't know if they're gonna have the same magic as it did in 2017. Maybe that's what they're trying to do. See, like with Scott Frost being familiar with, and I mean Scott Frost did spend some time as an analyst with the LA Rams, so I'm thinking that UCF they already had that connection with Scott Frost, what he brought in 2017, and now he spent some time in the NFL learning from people in the NFL, learning about coaching there. I think this is hopefully like I hope that Scott like because I was hoping that UCF would be one of those like big names of the Big 12. So I'm still hopeful for that. And then for Rich Rodriguez, oh, this one divides West Virginia fans a lot because he was a coach. He was the head coach, I believe, of the 2007 squad that had a shot to make the national championship, but lost in the backyard brawl to Pitt 13-9, and that has been this dividing West Virginia fans ever since. So
yeah,
yeah.
Pat McAfee was the kicker on that team.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, here are my thoughts. Scott Frost. Um, I I like the hire. He had
Hmm.
some, he clearly had some success there. I think the key for if for this iteration of this coaching tenure to be successful is if he nails his hires. If he
Hmm.
nails his offensive and defensive coordinator hires, um, that is gonna do well. I mean, I think it might have gotten off on the wrong foot because I saw some rumors on I saw some rumors from some trusted sources on Twitter that
Hmm.
one of the he might be hiring Alex Grinch as a
Hmm.
DVD coordinator. I'm like, "Oh, man, I don't know about
Mm.
that. I was
Yeah.
like Alex Grinch. I'm like, did you see his where the defenses he had at Oklahoma and USC under uh
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley? I was like, I don't know if that's the right move.
Also,
So,
didn't he just get fired for, was it, where was he at? Because it was because he was most recently a, was he at
oh,
a Chicago?
Wisconsin.
Oh, I think, let me see, but no, the one, okay, you said Wisconsin. The one thing I'm thinking about now is Wisconsin hiring Jeff Grimes.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Wisconsin,
Jeff
what he,
Grimes.
did you not see what he just, what happened to Kansas?
I just yeah, it don't make any sense.
Yeah, but the coaching carousel is gonna just do his thing.
And
Yeah.
then just lastly for Rich Rod, for me, it's either
Mm.
that they're gonna find lightning in a bottle and it's gonna be like the mid 2000s all over again,
Ooh.
or it's gonna come crashing down and they're
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be
in
more.
complete
It's gonna be worse.
shambles.
Might be worse than Neil Brown, dare I
Yeah,
say?
that's what I'm saying. It might be worse than Dale Brown, but they could also be like the team that we thought we were getting when West Virginia came into the Big 12.
Oh yeah, for
So like
sure.
I think it's going to be either extreme. I don't think it's going to be anything in the middle. I think
Hmm.
it's going to be either one of those extremes.
Yeah. Yep. So I'll leave a note here. In case of those who are in tune with Iowa State volleyball, around 8 p.m. tonight. This is going to be after the Pitt Louisville volleyball matchup in the Final Four. Penn State notably has Iowa State volleyball alumni Jordan Hopp. She'll be taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers about another battle one season in the Big Ten for a spot in the national championship to take on either Pitt or Louisville. So if you are into not volleyball and Iowa State, if you're familiar with her name, tune into that game because that's a big spotlight for her and just she had a pretty solid year at Penn State. So shout out to her. She's doing well, and hopefully that we see her in the national championship.
All right. Well, thank you for that shameless plug, Cody.
Hmm.
Um, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Believe in Iowa State podcast. You can find both of us on X/Twitter. Cody at Matt Kimball Impersonator. I am at SciTi Guy. We can be found on all of our social media sources um, at Bleav in Iowa State, BLEAV. Um, Here are these sources: X, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and all right, I said Twitter already.
Yeah, you said Twitter already.
Oh, Instagram and TikTok. Whoops.
I got a little
So
scared when you had the ring finger. I was like, oh no, if you put one in the wrong direction, oh.
I'm getting old. No. So thank you guys for joining us. So for Tyler Carter,
And for Cody Van Zielom,
this is the Believe in Iowa State podcast. Roll clones, baby.
let's go State. Hopefully, we see a good fan base in Orlando.